Introduction. Amelia was the kind of woman who seemed to have it all: a high-paying job, a prestigious apartment in the city, and a social circle filled with successful, ambitious individuals. At just 30 years old, she was already making waves in the corporate world, known for her sharp mind, impressive work ethic, and striking beauty. Yet, despite all her material success, there was something missing in her life, a deep, almost unspoken void that she couldn't fill with the designer clothes she wore or the glittering parties she attended. What Amelia lacked wasn't money or status, it was love, real love, the kind that made life feel meaningful beyond the walls of her penthouse and the cold glass of champagne flutes. Her life had always been focused on achievement. Ever since childhood, Amelia had been taught that success was the key to happiness. Her parents, both entrepreneurs, had instilled in her a mindset that material wealth was everything. Work hard, make money, and the world will follow, they'd always said. Amelia believed them, but as she climbed higher on the ladder of success, something changed. The relationships she had with people, whether romantic or friendly, began to feel more transactional than genuine. She was constantly surrounded by people who admired her success, but no one truly knew her. She spent more evenings alone than she liked to admit, pondering the emptiness that came with wealth. And then there was Nathan. Nathan was everything Amelia hadn't been looking for: simple, unassuming, and with little interest in wealth or status. He worked as a teacher in a small school, living in a modest apartment on the outskirts of town. Nathan didn't care for designer brands or exclusive events. He found joy in quiet moments, in cooking dinner for two, and in conversations that had nothing to do with career achievements or financial success. He loved books, nature walks, and spending time with friends who valued kindness over connections. He was passionate about life, but in a way that didn't require fame or fortune to fuel him. When Amelia first met Nathan, she was struck by the difference in their worlds. She had been drawn to him at a mutual friends gathering, where he was effortlessly charming, talking about his students and his dreams for the future in a way that wasn't tied to the latest investment or high-profile deal. It wasn't long before they began spending time together. With Nathan, Amelia felt something she hadn't experienced in years: real affection. There was a simplicity in his love, a warmth that made her forget the constant pressure to perform in her professional life. For the first time in a long time, Amelia found herself laughing, not out of obligation, but out of true happiness. But there was a catch. Nathan's world was far from the glamorous life Amelia had grown accustomed to. He wasn't offering her luxury or prestige. Instead, he offered her a humble, authentic love that could never promise the comforts of wealth. Amelia, ever the pragmatist, couldn't help but question if she was willing to leave behind her high-powered life for a simpler, uncertain future. Could she really trade in the stability of financial success for the unpredictability of love? Her heart tugged in one direction, but her mind pulled her in the opposite. Amelia had always prided herself on her ability to make logical decisions, but for once her mind was at odds with her heart. She loved Nathan, but was love enough to build a future on? And what about everything she had worked so hard to achieve? Could she really let go of the material world that defined her? The decision was one that would change her life forever, but in that moment, Amelia was stuck between two worlds, one that offered everything and one that promised nothing but love. Background setup. Before the decision, Amelia's life seemed like the epitome of success. She was living in the kind of luxury that most people only dream of. A glamorous career in a top-tier marketing firm had elevated her to the top of the corporate ladder by the age of 30. She spent her days attending high-powered meetings in sleek boardrooms and her evenings at exclusive events, surrounded by well-dressed executives, celebrities, and entrepreneurs. The world knew her as the ambitious, driven woman who could get things done, no matter the cost. And in many ways, she was proud of it. Her apartment was a testament to her success. A penthouse overlooking the city skyline, with floor-to-ceiling windows, designer furniture, and the kind of space that felt endless. The walls were adorned with expensive art, the floors lined with rich hardwood, and every room meticulously decorated to reflect the lifestyle she had worked so hard to build. Her closet overflowed with haute couture clothing and accessories, each item a symbol of her accomplishments. She could have any car she wanted and often dined in Michelin-starred restaurants, living a life few could afford to dream of. In her professional life, she had everything she could want. Amelia was at the helm of several major marketing campaigns for global brands, and her reputation was impeccable. She was highly sought after for her strategic brilliance, her ability to turn failing projects into high-profit successes. She had a network of influential people who praised her, admired her, and wanted to be associated with her. In this world, she had it all: wealth, power, influence, and the admiration of others. Then there was Max, her partner. Max was the perfect man for someone who thrived in a world of luxury. He was charming, well-spoken, and came from a family that had been wealthy for generations. He had the kind of connections that could open any door in the corporate world, and his power was only growing. He was always immaculately dressed, attending gala events, and rubbing shoulders with people who could help advance his career, and, by extension, Amelia's. He was everything she had been trained to want in a partner. His presence offered her the stability and security that she had been taught to prioritize. Together, they made the perfect power couple: successful, enviable, and effortlessly living a life that others only dreamed of. But despite all the luxury and success, Amelia found herself feeling strangely unsettled. It wasn't that Max wasn't a good partner. He was, in many ways, perfect. He adored her, supported her career, and showered her with gifts, taking her on extravagant vacations and ensuring that every material need was met. But the emotional connection they shared felt distant, almost transactional. Their relationship was built around shared ambitions and mutual success, not shared dreams or deep emotional intimacy. Amelia realized that in their pursuit of wealth and status, they had both neglected something far more important: love, real love. Max was a wonderful man, but their love was more of a convenience, a well-arranged partnership than the passionate, soul-fulfilling connection she had secretly longed for. And then came Nathan. Her connection with Nathan was unlike anything she had ever experienced. With him, she felt something that wasn't tied to power or wealth, something pure, untarnished by status or materialism. Yet Nathan's life wasn't one of opulence. He wasn't well connected, and his aspirations were different from the corporate ladder she had spent years climbing. He didn't care for private jets or designer suits, but he had something Amelia found herself yearning for: a deep, unwavering love, a genuine connection that could make her forget about all the things she thought she needed. Her own dreams, the dreams she had suppressed over the years, began to resurface. She had always imagined a life filled with love, joy, and authenticity. Yet here she was, surrounded by everything money could buy, but lacking the one thing that truly mattered. The clash between her desire for material success and the pull of a love that promised no guarantees began to tear at her. Could she leave behind the life she had worked so hard to create? Was wealth and status enough to fill the void that had grown in her heart? These questions began to consume her thoughts, forcing her to confront a difficult truth: her values, her heart, and the life she had built were now at odds. The dilemma. Amelia stood at the crossroads of her life, torn between two paths that seemed to pull her in opposite directions. On one side, there was Max, the man who offered her everything the world had taught her to desire. He was the perfect partner in the material sense: wealthy, influential, and connected to the highest echelons of society. Together, they were the golden couple, admired and envied by everyone who knew them. They attended charity galas, jet-setted to exclusive resorts, and lived a life that was the envy of all who sought status. Max was steady, dependable, and protective. He had an understanding of success that matched her own. Their relationship, while emotionally distant, was secure. He respected her career ambitions and offered her a future of financial stability, free of the struggles that so many faced. There was comfort in their predictability. The thought of stepping away from this security, of giving up the life she had worked so hard to build, was terrifying. What would she be left with if she chose to walk away? A simpler life with no guarantees, no lavish vacations, no power dinners, and no world of luxury. Could she really sacrifice the comfort and success that her entire life had been built upon? And then there was Nathan. Nathan wasn't like anyone Amelia had ever known. He didn't offer her the security of wealth or status, but what he offered was something she had been craving without even realizing it: love, authenticity, and a deep emotional connection. He was everything that Max wasn't: genuine, present, and real. With Nathan, Amelia didn't need to pretend. There was no need for business deals or social facades. Their time together was spent in simplicity: long walks in the park, late night talks about their dreams, and cooking dinner together in his modest apartment. Nathan made her feel alive in a way that money and status could never do. His love didn't come with strings attached or expectations of success. It was unconditional and pure. Yet, despite the warmth Nathan brought into her life, Amelia was overwhelmed by the weight of the decision. She loved him, yes, but love didn't pay the bills, or provide the kind of security she had always been taught to seek. How could she leave behind a life of success for an uncertain future? What would her friends think if she gave up everything she had worked so hard for? The fear of judgment, the fear of failure, and the fear of not living up to her own potential gripped her tightly. It felt as if every part of her life had been building toward this moment, and to turn her back on it all seemed like a reckless leap into the unknown. Her mind raced with conflicting thoughts. She knew that deep down, the life she had with Max was not fulfilling her on a deeper emotional level. Despite the luxury and security, something was missing: a feeling of true connection, a bond that could withstand time and change. But could she really throw away everything for something as intangible as love? Would she regret it? And if she stayed with Max, would she forever wonder what could have been with Nathan? The emotional pull was excruciating. In one breath, she imagined the endless possibilities with Nathan, building a life together, free of pretense, surrounded by love and mutual respect. But in the next, the practical side of her reared its head. Was love enough to sustain a future? Could she truly give up her career ambitions, the luxury and the stability she had come to depend on, for something so uncertain? She had spent so much of her life building this empire, this identity, and now she was being asked to dismantle it. The weight of her ambitions, her upbringing, and her career all collided with her longing for love and emotional fulfillment. Her head told her to stay on the safe, known path with Max, but her heart was telling her that love, true love, was worth fighting for, no matter the cost. Torn between the two worlds, Amelia was paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong choice. The internal conflict was unbearable. Each choice seemed to carry its own risks, its own consequences. Could she find happiness in a world of materialism and success? Or would her soul always crave the simplicity and authenticity of the love Nathan offered? The future seemed clouded, and Amelia had no idea which direction would lead her to the happiness she so desperately sought. The ultimate choice lay before her: stay in the secure, materialistic life she had built, or take a leap of faith and embrace the love that promised nothing but the unknown. Choosing love. The decision had been gnawing at Amelia's mind for weeks, weighing on her with the intensity of a storm. The luxury of her life, the lavish dinners, the high-rise apartment, the recognition and praise, seemed to grow more hollow with each passing day. Despite the outward perfection, something inside her was slowly crumbling, aching for something deeper: a connection, a sense of belonging, true love. It was all she had ever wanted, but it had always been secondary to the pursuit of wealth and status. Now, it was no longer enough to merely succeed. She needed to feel alive. She needed to be loved, unconditionally, without the expectations or conditions that came with her life of luxury. Amelia sat in her penthouse, looking out at the skyline she had once considered the pinnacle of achievement. But now, it seemed distant, just another glittering, cold cityscape that had lost its charm. Her thoughts were no longer focused on the boardrooms and cocktail parties. They were with Nathan, in his cozy apartment, with the faint smell of coffee lingering in the air, his easy laughter, and his ability to make her feel like the most important person in the room without a single grand gesture. It wasn't the diamonds or the designer dresses that mattered anymore. It was the quiet moments, the shared smiles, the deep conversations, the raw honesty. That was the love she had been craving. Max had sensed the distance growing between them, though he never fully understood it. He had been good to her, perhaps too good in his own way, but he wasn't the one who made her heart race. And as much as she appreciated the security he offered, she realized that security was never meant to fill her soul. That realization came as a crushing truth. The day she made the decision was one of those rare, quiet moments when everything seemed to align. She had spent the entire morning pacing the floors of her apartment, her heart heavy with the weight of what she was about to do. It was time to face the truth. She could no longer live for others or hide behind the walls of her success. She needed to be true to herself. She needed to be true to the love she had found with Nathan, the kind of love that was real and unpretentious. Amelia called Max that afternoon. Her hands trembled slightly as she dialed his number, but she knew there was no turning back now. He answered, his voice warm and expectant. "Amelia, everything okay?" he asked, unaware of the turmoil inside her. There was a long pause as Amelia tried to collect her thoughts, to find the right words, but in that moment, she realized there were no right words. Only the truth. "Max," she began softly, "I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I've realized that I can't keep living this life. I can't keep pretending that everything is fine when it's not. I don't love you the way you deserve to be loved." Silence followed her words, thick and suffocating. She felt the weight of his hurt, but she also knew she was setting both of them free. "I've met someone, Max," she continued, her voice trembling now. "I've met someone who makes me feel truly alive. Someone who doesn't care about status or wealth. And I can't ignore that anymore. I have to be with him, to see where this love can take me." The words felt like a release, like a burden that had been too heavy to carry for too long. But as she spoke, a flood of emotions overwhelmed her. Guilt, sadness, and an overwhelming sense of relief. She had chosen love, chosen a simpler life, one that didn't come with guarantees or comforts. It was a leap of faith, and it was terrifying. But for the first time in years, she felt like she was living in alignment with her true self. Max's voice was quiet, but there was a hardness to it that made Amelia's heart ache. "I never thought it would come to this, but if that's what you need, I won't stop you." She could hear the hurt in his voice, but she knew she had made the right choice. Amelia ended the call, her chest tight with both grief and hope. The life she had built was slipping away, but in its place she was stepping into a new chapter, one full of uncertainty, but also filled with possibility. Later that evening, Amelia stood outside Nathan's apartment, her heart pounding in her chest. She had told Max the truth, left the life of wealth behind, and now there was no turning back. She had chosen love, and with it, she had chosen a future that was undefined, yet infinitely more promising than any luxury could offer. When Nathan opened the door, his warm smile greeted her, and for a moment all of her fears melted away. His arms, open and welcoming, were all she needed. No more pretending, no more materialism, just love. And in that moment, Amelia realized that this was exactly where she was meant to be. Consequences of her decision. The days following Amelia's decision were a whirlwind of emotions. What had once seemed like a powerful, liberating choice now felt heavy with consequence. Choosing love over wealth wasn't as romantic and freeing as she had imagined. In the beginning, she was filled with hope, but soon the reality of her decision began to sink in. Living without the constant influx of money and the comfort that came with it was harder than she had anticipated. The first change came in her apartment. She had left behind the penthouse with its floor-to-ceiling windows and the skyline that had once symbolized success. Nathan's apartment was small, cozy, and simple, a stark contrast to the grandeur she was used to. At first, the warmth and intimacy of it were comforting, but as time passed, Amelia felt the weight of the sacrifices she had made. She missed the space, the luxury, and the ability to indulge in the comforts of her former life. Her bank account no longer had the six-figure balances, and the dinners she now shared with Nathan were cooked at home, with ingredients from the local market. Gone were the champagne toasts and the five-star restaurants. Instead, their evenings were filled with home-cooked meals, and while they were filled with love and laughter, Amelia sometimes found herself longing for the grandeur that had once been part of her world. The shift in her financial circumstances also meant that she had to face something she had never really dealt with before: financial insecurity. She had grown used to the freedom that came with wealth, the freedom to travel whenever she wanted, to buy whatever she needed, and to live without ever having to think twice about money. Now, every purchase had to be considered. Every plan had to be more thought out. There were moments when Amelia would catch herself wondering if she had made a mistake, but it wasn't just the financial struggles that weighed on her. It was the judgment from her peers and the doubts that came from her inner circle. Her colleagues, once her close friends, were now distant. When they learned about her decision to leave Max, they didn't understand. They had all looked up to her as the woman who had it all: the career, the partner, the lifestyle, and now they looked at her with skepticism. Some were openly critical, questioning how she could throw away everything she had worked so hard for. "You had the perfect life, Amelia," one of them had said. "Why would you give it up for a man who can't offer you anything close to what you had?" At work, the judgment was even more pronounced. Her colleagues, who once admired her drive and ambition, now whispered behind her back. Some felt that she had made a mistake. Others pitied her for walking away from her high-flying career for something as intangible as love. She heard their comments, felt their eyes on her, and it stung. It made her question her decision more than once. Was she being reckless? Was love really worth it? Even her family, who had always taught her that success was the ultimate goal, expressed their concerns. Her mother, in particular, couldn't understand why she would choose a man who didn't have the financial stability she had once prioritized. "You're going to regret it, Amelia," her mother had warned her during one of their phone calls. "You've worked so hard for everything you have. Don't throw it away for some fleeting romance." The doubts were suffocating, and there were moments when Amelia wondered if her family and friends were right. She had sacrificed so much. The world she had built had come crashing down, leaving her questioning if she had made a mistake. Her life, once filled with excitement and privilege, now felt smaller, quieter, and uncertain. But amid all the challenges, one thing remained constant: Nathan's love. He never judged her. He didn't care about her past or the lifestyle she had left behind. Nathan loved her for who she was, not for her career or her wealth. He understood the difficulties she was facing, and he was there to support her every step of the way. When she felt low, when the weight of her decision seemed too much to bear, he was there to hold her hand, to remind her that love was worth every struggle. Despite everything, despite the doubts, the judgment, and the emotional turmoil, Amelia started to realize that the love she had with Nathan was more than enough. It wasn't always easy. There were tough days, days when she felt defeated, but love, in its simplest form, provided her with the strength to carry on. Nathan's unwavering belief in her reminded her that love wasn't about wealth, prestige, or external validation. It was about being seen, being heard, and being cherished for who you truly are. Slowly, the challenges of a simpler life began to lose their sting. Amelia found joy in the small moments: the quiet mornings spent together over coffee, the late-night talks about their dreams, the shared laughter that filled the room with warmth. These were the things that money could never buy. And as time passed, she realized that true happiness wasn't found in the luxury she had left behind. It was found in the love she had chosen to embrace. Her journey was far from easy, and the consequences of her decision were real. But with each passing day, Amelia knew that she was exactly where she was meant to be. A change in perspective. As time passed, Amelia began to notice subtle changes in herself, changes she hadn't anticipated when she made the life-altering decision to choose love over wealth. At first, everything felt like a struggle. as though she was constantly battling the loss of her old life. But slowly, like the tide creeping up ashore, the effects of her decision began to unfold in ways that were both surprising and rewarding. The first shift came in the way she saw herself. When she had been living her high-powered materialistic life, her worth had been defined by external measures: her career, her wealth, her ability to climb the ladder of success. It was how she was seen by the world, how she was applauded by others, that had once determined her value. But now, with the trappings of that old life stripped away, Amelia began to understand that her worth was something far deeper and more complex. It wasn't dependent on her income or her job title, but on her ability to love, to be present, and to find joy in the simplest of moments. Nathan had always told her that the best things in life were free: the moments of connection, the deep conversations, the shared laughter. But it wasn't until she lived through those moments herself that she truly understood the depth of his words. She no longer needed to prove herself to anyone, and it was liberating. Instead of impressing others with her achievements, she began to focus on creating meaningful experiences, cultivating relationships that fed her soul rather than her ego. She found fulfillment in places she had never looked before: in the kindness of a stranger, in quiet mornings spent reading, in the peace of walking through the park with Nathan's hand in hers. Then came the unexpected opportunities. They didn't come in the form of big promotions or business deals as she had once expected. Instead, they arrived in quieter, subtler ways. One morning, as she was browsing through a local cafe, a woman approached her, recognizing her from her previous marketing career. The woman was starting her own business and had been looking for someone to help with branding and strategy. She wasn't offering a glamorous corporate job, but rather a small, personal venture. Something that would allow Amelia to work on her own terms, without the pressures of corporate life. Amelia hesitated at first, unsure if this was the right fit for her after everything she had walked away from, but something in her gut told her to take the leap. It wasn't about the money or the prestige. It was about doing meaningful work that aligned with her newfound values. It was an opportunity to use her skills to make a difference in a different kind of way. To her surprise, this new venture turned out to be incredibly fulfilling. It wasn't the world of power lunches and multi-million-dollar contracts that she had once known, but it was rich with the satisfaction of using her talents in a way that was both rewarding and aligned with her values. She felt her confidence returning, not the confidence that came from climbing a corporate ladder, but the kind that came from helping someone else grow, making a real impact in the world, even in small ways. Her relationships also began to deepen in ways that were far more fulfilling than she had imagined. Her bond with Nathan grew stronger every day. They learned more about each other, not just through their shared moments of joy, but through their shared struggles. They faced the challenges of their simpler life together, and with each challenge, they became more connected, more trusting, and more in tune with one another's needs. Amelia also rekindled connections with friends she had lost touch with during her corporate climb. They were people who cared about her not because of her career or wealth, but because of the person she was, the person she was rediscovering. There was no need for pretenses or facades. Their relationships were based on real, honest exchanges. They spent afternoons talking about dreams, fears, and personal growth, not just business. Amelia felt more alive in these moments than she had in the years of her high-powered career. The most profound change, however, was in the way Amelia saw herself. She no longer felt the need to chase approval, to be validated by external forces. Her self-worth was no longer wrapped up in the success or failure of her career. She was enough simply by being herself. Her emotional well-being flourished as she embraced this new chapter of her life, and with it came a deep sense of inner peace. The pressures she once faced to constantly prove herself melted away, replaced by a quiet confidence that came from knowing who she truly was. She realized, with a kind of awe, that she was growing stronger, not in spite of her decision to leave wealth behind, but because of it. She was learning what it meant to be truly fulfilled, to have a life full of love, authentic connection, and meaningful work. The challenges were still there, of course, but she had the strength to face them with a sense of purpose and resilience that had eluded her in her former life. Her perspective had shifted completely. Wealth and status had once seemed like the ultimate goals, the measure of a successful life. Now she understood that true wealth lay in emotional richness, in the relationships she nurtured, and in the love she gave and received. The external markers of success no longer mattered to her. What mattered was the sense of peace she found within herself and the genuine connections she had built with others. Amelia had not only chosen love over wealth, she had chosen herself, her true self, unburdened by the expectations of others. And in doing so, she had found a fulfillment that no amount of money or status could ever have provided. The universe's reward. As Amelia settled into her new life, a quiet confidence took root within her. The struggle, the doubts, and the sacrifices she had made for love, simplicity, and emotional fulfillment began to feel worth it. The more she trusted her decision, the more the universe seemed to conspire in her favor, offering rewards in ways she had never expected. The first sign of change came in her career. The small branding project she had taken on for the local businesswoman blossomed into something much more significant than she had anticipated. Word of her work spread through the community, and soon she found herself approached by other small businesses and startups that needed her expertise. Amelia wasn't chasing these opportunities. She wasn't seeking the accolades, the big contracts, or the corporate promotions she had once craved. But the work was fulfilling in ways she hadn't expected. She wasn't bound by corporate red tape, deadlines that felt suffocating, or clients who cared only about the numbers. Instead, she was working with passionate people who truly believed in what they were doing, and Amelia found herself emotionally invested in every project. Her creativity flourished. She was able to design campaigns, build brands, and work with companies that aligned with her values, and in return, these businesses began to thrive, crediting her as an integral part of their success. As her career took on a new, more meaningful direction, so did her personal life. The relationship with Nathan deepened. Their love became more solid, grounded in mutual respect and understanding. Amelia was no longer haunted by the pressures of her past life, and as she let go of the constant need for validation, she became more present in her relationship. They supported each other through the ups and downs, growing closer with each shared experience. Nathan's love was unwavering, and his belief in her was a constant source of strength. Together, they made decisions as a team, no longer feeling the weight of uncertainty or fear that had once haunted their every choice. It wasn't long before the couple's bond became even more tangible. Nathan, who had once lived modestly, was offered a career opportunity that would significantly change their financial outlook. His talent, which had always been there, was now being recognized on a larger scale. As he began to gain recognition for his work, he became more confident, and Amelia found herself cheering him on, knowing that this success was a shared victory. With their combined efforts and emotional support for each other, they built a life together that wasn't defined by wealth, but by their deep connection and shared growth. Amelia's greatest reward, however, came in a way she least expected, an unexpected windfall that arrived out of the blue. One of her former colleagues, who had remained in the corporate world, approached her with a proposal. A large, well-known company had reached out to her for consulting on a new project, and while the offer wasn't based on wealth alone, it came with the opportunity to work with a team that shared her vision. The project was one that could truly make an impact, and the compensation was far greater than she had ever dreamed. Amelia was initially hesitant. This felt like a world she had walked away from. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized that the universe had placed this opportunity in front of her. Not to test her, but to show her that following her heart and staying true to her values didn't mean sacrificing success. The work was something she could be proud of. It wasn't the same corporate grind she had left behind, but it was a chance to use her skills in a way that mattered, and it allowed her the freedom to keep working on projects that aligned with her heart. It was a rare opportunity, one she hadn't expected, yet it felt like a reward for her faith in herself, in love, and in the choices she had made. As the project unfolded, Amelia found herself thriving, not because of the financial gain, but because it was aligned with her values. The work felt fulfilling, and the connections she made with others on the project were genuine, not transactional. The unexpected windfall from this venture allowed her to live more comfortably, but it was never the wealth that she had once sought. It was the recognition that living authentically, following her heart, and choosing love had led her to something more than she could have ever imagined. Amelia's life, now shaped by love and authenticity, flourished. The sacrifices she had made began to pay off in ways she could never have predicted. She had not only found success in her career, but her personal life had become richer and more meaningful than ever. She and Nathan were partners in every sense of the word, supporting each other's dreams and growing together. The universe, it seemed, had rewarded her for the faith she had placed in love and authenticity. By choosing a simpler, emotionally fulfilling life, Amelia had found her true calling, and in doing so, had unlocked doors she never knew existed. She had learned that true wealth was not measured by the size of a bank account or the prestige of a career, but by the depth of one's emotional connections, the fulfillment of one's passions, and the courage to live a life true to one's heart. In the end, Amelia realized that the universe doesn't always reward us in ways we expect. Sometimes, the most unexpected rewards come when we are brave enough to step away from what we know, to embrace the unknown, and to choose love over wealth. And for Amelia, that choice had led her to a life beyond her wildest dreams. Reflection. As Amelia sat on the balcony of her modest apartment, gazing out at the setting sun, she couldn't help but reflect on her journey, how far she had come, and how much her life had changed. The woman who had once been consumed by the pursuit of wealth and status now sat in the quiet contentment of a life she had never expected. Yet, it was a life that felt undeniably hers, a life that had unfolded in ways that surprised her, despite the fears and doubts that had initially accompanied her decision to leave everything behind. She thought about the moment when she had made the choice to leave the luxury, the security, and the allure of her previous life. It had been a difficult decision, one that had come with great uncertainty. In her heart, she had known that love was worth more than wealth, but it was hard to see that truth through the fog of societal expectations, her own ambitions, and the life she had worked so hard to build. There had been moments of fear, moments when she wondered if she had made the biggest mistake of her life. But as the days turned into months, and as the years passed, Amelia began to see that the path she had chosen was the one she was meant to follow. The sacrifices, though painful at times, had set her on a journey of growth, discovery, and fulfillment, things she had never fully understood until she had walked away from everything familiar. She had learned that success wasn't defined by how much money she made or by the prestige of her job title. Success, she realized, was about living authentically, about choosing love, about embracing the unknown, and about following her heart, no matter how uncertain the road ahead seemed. In choosing love over wealth, Amelia had found herself. She had found the courage to build a life that was in alignment with her values, to cultivate relationships that nurtured her soul, and to pursue work that fed her creativity and passion. Each step along the way had led her to a deeper understanding of who she was and what truly mattered to her. The rewards that had come, unexpected career opportunities, deepened relationships, and a financial windfall that seemed to arrive at just the right time, were not just a consequence of her decision. They were the universe's way of affirming that her choice was the right one. Amelia smiled softly as she thought of Nathan. Their love had been the cornerstone of her journey. It had been his belief in her, his unwavering support, and the quiet way he loved her that had helped her navigate the hardest parts of her decision. Together, they had faced challenges, celebrated victories, and built a life based on mutual respect, understanding, and shared dreams. Their bond had not only survived, but flourished, growing stronger with each passing year. She thought about the many times she had questioned her choice, when the weight of judgment from friends and family had made her second-guess everything. There had been moments when the simpler life had felt too difficult, when she wondered if she had made the right decision after all. But in reflecting on the bigger picture, Amelia saw that those struggles had shaped her in ways that success and wealth never could have. They had helped her uncover a strength she hadn't known she possessed. Now, as she sat on that balcony, a sense of peace washed over her. She no longer felt the need to chase approval or to prove herself. The validation she had once sought through external achievements now came from within. She had created a life that was rich, not in material wealth, but in love, purpose, and contentment. And for the first time, Amelia understood that this was the success she had been searching for all along. Looking back on her journey, Amelia knew that love had been the catalyst for everything. It had led her to unexpected success in ways that had been far more meaningful than the wealth and status she had once coveted. It had brought her fulfillment, not just in her career, but in her relationships and in the deep, abiding connection she had with herself. Her decision, though difficult and uncertain, had set her on a path that was uniquely hers, a path that felt right in ways she had never anticipated. And now, with the wisdom gained from those years of growth and change, Amelia knew that the journey hadn't just been about choosing love over wealth. It had been about choosing herself, and in doing so, finding a life that was richer and more rewarding than she had ever imagined. Amelia had learned that the universe, when given the space to unfold, rewards those who are brave enough to follow their hearts. And in following hers, she had found a life that was full, not of riches, but of meaning. And that, she realized, was more than enough. The power of love and belief. As Amelia looked back on her journey, a deep sense of gratitude filled her heart. She had come to understand something profound during her years of change: the true power of love, belief, and the unwavering courage to follow one's heart. Her choice to prioritize love over material wealth had not only shaped her life, but had unlocked untapped potential she never knew existed within her. When she first made the decision to leave behind the life of luxury and security, it had felt like a monumental risk, one that was weighed down by doubts and fears of failure. The life she had known was filled with success, financial stability, and the admiration of others. Yet despite these external markers of success, Amelia had never felt truly fulfilled. There was always a gnawing sense that something was missing, something deeper and more meaningful than wealth could ever provide. By choosing love, by choosing a life based on emotional connection, authenticity, and a shared sense of purpose, Amelia had unlocked a part of herself that had been dormant for years. The love she shared with Nathan, the trust they built, and the emotional richness they cultivated together had provided her with a foundation that no amount of material wealth could ever match. It was love that gave her the courage to take risks, to leave behind the corporate world she had once dominated, and to step into a life that was unknown and uncertain. But with each step she took toward this new life, the universe began to respond. Opportunities began to present themselves, not in the form of wealth or status, but in the form of fulfillment, meaningful work, and true happiness. The more she allowed herself to follow her heart, the more the universe seemed to open doors for her, bringing people, experiences, and opportunities into her life that were in perfect alignment with her new path. The work she took on, though humble at first, was emotionally satisfying. The relationships she nurtured were deeper and more rewarding than any business deal or corporate networking event she had ever been a part of. She had shifted her focus from external success to internal fulfillment, and in doing so, she had unlocked a reservoir of potential she hadn't even realized was there. Her creativity flourished, her personal relationships grew stronger, and she began to feel a sense of peace that had eluded her in her earlier years. Her belief in the power of love, not just romantic love, but love for herself and the life she was creating, became a guiding force. She learned that when you are true to your heart, when you live authentically and without fear of judgment, the universe conspires to bring you what you need, not always in the way you expect, but in the ways that matter most. Amelia's life began to flow with a sense of grace and ease, as if the universe was affirming that she was on the right path. The love she had chosen, not just for Nathan, but for herself and the world around her, had opened up a new chapter of her life, one filled with untapped potential. Amelia had come to realize that the pursuit of wealth and success had once blinded her to what truly mattered. It had kept her focused on external achievements and validation, but love had shown her that true fulfillment was about connecting with others, living with purpose, and following her heart. By choosing love over material wealth, she had not only found a deeper sense of fulfillment, but had created a life that was richer in ways that were beyond the reach of money. As she sat there reflecting on all she had gained, Amelia understood that the universe rewards those who have the courage to follow their hearts. Love, belief in oneself, and the willingness to take risks in the name of true happiness had been the key to unlocking her potential. In choosing love, she had discovered a deeper connection to herself, to the people she cared about, and to the world around her. And in the end, it was this love, this belief in the power of the heart, that had led her to a life that was more abundant and fulfilling than she had ever imagined. The power of love, Amelia realized, was not just about romantic relationships. It was about love for life, love for the journey, and most importantly, love for oneself. And when one leads with love, the universe responds in kind. Conclusion. As Amelia sat in the quiet of her home, she felt a profound sense of peace. She had come a long way since the days of doubt and uncertainty, when she had faced the difficult choice between love and wealth. In choosing love, in choosing a life rooted in authenticity and emotional connection, Amelia had grown into the person she was always meant to be. Her life now was richer than ever, but not in the way she had once imagined. The material wealth she had once chased no longer held the same appeal. Instead, it was the richness of her relationships, the fulfillment in her work, and the deep, abiding connection she had with herself and those she loved that gave her life its true value. With Nathan by her side, she had built a life filled with shared dreams, laughter, and support. One where they both thrived not through external validation, but through mutual love and respect. Her work, now aligned with her passions and values, brought her a sense of purpose that no paycheck or promotion had ever done. And though life still had its challenges, she faced them with the strength and resilience that had been born from the love and belief she had chosen. Amelia had learned that the greatest wealth lies not in what you accumulate, but in who you become along the way. By choosing love, she had unlocked a life filled with meaning, joy, and deep connection, things that no amount of money could ever provide. As she reflected on her journey, Amelia smiled, knowing that the universe had rewarded her not with wealth, but with something far more precious, a life lived true to her heart. She had found the path she was always meant to walk, and in doing so, had created a life that was beyond her wildest dreams, a life full of love, purpose, and an abundance of all that truly mattered.